Hey, what's up, everybody? Tommy Kane is back. I don't really know where to start today. We're going to talk about Elon versus Trump and the whole thing going on in that situation. But before I get into that, I want to talk about narratives and the importance of them. And I want to get into what is a narrative, right? And where do they come from? Who creates them? Why? So on and so forth. And what it comes down to is that narratives are basically the way for very, very powerful people, wealthy people, celebrity people, it could be political people, it could be, executives, top bank executives, whoever, that have an incentive to manipulate masses. And again, it's not just political people or wealthy people. It's anyone who's trying to sell somebody something at the end of the day, right? Anyone who has a platform of any kind. People who don't have a platform can't really create narratives because they don't have a platform. Only people with a platform can create them. And the way that narratives are used is to create a narrative, you have to say something that is relatable and then follow it with a call to action, right? So for instance, if I say, if you're somebody whose wife cheated on you and you just went through a divorce because of it, and you're struggling every day to pay rent, and you're working very hard to make money and so on and so forth. And so you say, or I'm sorry, I come up to you and I say, man, you ever been through some rough crap where your woman left you because she cheated on you and you wound up getting a divorce, and now you're like working your butt off every month trying to pay your rent? If I say that to you and that's your life, you immediately identify. You identify me as somebody who understands you immediately. And there's a lot of power in that. Significant power in that. And the problem with that is that people use that power to sell stuff. That's what narratives are. So now let's say I said that to you. You ever been through some struggle and your woman cheated on you and you wound up divorced and, now you're struggling to pay the rent? You immediately, wow, yeah, that's me. Oh my God, right? And now I say, well, if you're that way, you really should eat Campbell's soup. You really should eat Campbell's soup. And it's like, Campbell's soup? It's like, yeah, well, people like us, that's what we do. We eat Campbell's soup. And at first you might go, that's really weird. But if you hear it over and over and over again, if I spend money, millions of dollars, to project that over and over again and put it on your TVs, put it on your social media, I hire famous social media people to say it too, like, yeah, man, I could tell you this much, if you've been through a divorce and your woman cheated on you and you're like struggling to pay your rent, all I know is you got to eat Campbell's soup. We do that enough. You've created the narrative. You've created the narrative that anyone who has been cheated on and divorced by their wife, whatever, maybe you can go both ways and say spouse in general, and you're struggling to pay your rent, you eat Campbell's soup. And if you don't eat, and then it starts to actually take over so much that if you don't eat Campbell's soup, then that's not who you are. And even if that's your life, I could come in your house, and if I don't see Campbell's soup, I could say, you're a fraud, you're a liar. If you really were that person, you'd eat Campbell's soup. And it becomes so tied to that. It becomes so tied to it that it no longer matters what you say or do or whatever, or what's true, all that matters is the narrative. All that matters is the narrative. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I have realized in my life that regardless of what you know, of how hard you worked, how much time you've devoted to reading books, educating yourself on a subject, mastering a craft, becoming successful at it, accomplishing great things, that in the end, all of it can be completely erased or destroyed or undermined, minimized by somebody with the incentive to change the narrative. And you could work really hard on something and bust your ass to succeed and do everything you can to get known. And then, boom. All it takes is somebody to come out and say, oh, that guy, he just stepped all over people to make it. He just, he went around and, screwed people over and did all these horrible things. And, this is what he did to make it. And granted, if that person doesn't have a platform, then it doesn't matter. That's just a person hating, talking crap, whatever. But if they have a platform big enough, if they have money and can pay publicists to promote that story, the narrative can wipe out your actual true history. The narrative can completely demolish your legacy entirely. And what I'm realizing is that through social media and the advent of the iPhone and technology and how fast information travels, we no longer live in a reality. We live in a time of clashing narratives. And a good example of that is that when Biden was president, statistically speaking, and I say this pure matter-of-factly, I'm saying what the data shows, is that the American economy was actually at the envy of the world. We actually had one of the best economies in the world, and everybody wished that they were like us. Our GDP was smashing through the roof. And even though people's lives might have been not as good as they'd like to have been, which comes from sort of being drunk on prosperity. Because when your country, I'm just realizing that I'm looking a little blurry here. When your country is super successful, when there's a lot of prosperity, then little dips or little downfalls, little things can seem huge when you're so spoiled and used to having great things. And we all have American privilege. I mean, it's just the truth. I mean, if you live in America, we've been very, very beneficial. I mean, at least without a doubt since the 1950s, 100%. We've been soaring. But statistically, we had a decent economy. One of the best. In fact, countries all over the world wish they had our economy when Biden was president. However, when the next president, which was in this situation, Donald Trump, wanted to project an outward lie, which was that you should vote for me because your life sucks and America's going down the toilet and America's in trouble and America's horrible. None of that is true. But he said it so much over and over and over and over and over again that the narrative has become the reality. He knew how to sell. And, as a salesman, because I'm a sales guy, I actually own a company where, I teach people how to sell. So I understand as a salesperson, I kind of respect it. I'm like, wow, that's really, really highly skilled of Trump to have pulled this off. However, it's dangerous. It's dangerous that we live in a time where billionaires and super successful people have huge platforms where they can alter narratives and, essentially make anyone believe what they want them to believe. And that the truth no longer matters. The truth is like inside of a box, tossed in Enigma, wrapped up in Pandora's box and buried 600 feet below the desert sand. But these narratives, they fly around the world at lightning speed. And this is not just true with politics. It's true with your friends. It's true with social media and the circles you run in, and how fast people can spread narratives about you, especially when, if you started in the same place as a bunch of other people, you all started with nothing. You all had crappy relationships with your parents, or very bad parents that did drugs and had problems and all kinds of issues. You all came from squalor. You all came from very, very toxic environments. But one of them managed to become successful. The ones that didn't become successful or didn't do anything very exciting with their lives, they have to say to themselves, well, if I started in the same place as that person did and they went on to do great things and I didn't, then what's that say about me? I must be a loser. I must be some kind of a failure. Like, how come they did it and I didn't, right? So that's not the narrative. They have to change the narrative. And the narrative has to be that you became successful because you screwed people over. You became successful because you stepped on people. You became successful because you went to Hollywood and let a bunch of gay people at the top of the industry, bang you up the, backside so that you could have a career. Whatever it is, you did something immoral. You did something shady. You did something bad. You must have, because you succeeded. And I didn't, because I'm morally superior. I didn't make it because I'm somebody that wouldn't sell out or do something bad. And in reality, it's just what people do to create narratives that make themselves feel better about their own setbacks in life. And apparently, I'm knowing all too well what it's like to be on the receiving end of that. Without a doubt. Some of you may be wondering why I'm saying all this, or why I'm sitting here talking about this, and it goes deep. It's personal. I don't know why I started podcasting. I really don't. And I've been told by so many people, no one cares. What are you doing? They tell me I'm old. You're a washed rapper. No one cares about you. You didn't make it, right? I've heard everything in the book. And all of that is true. And I'm not denying it. And I know I'm not anything special. I'm not, anybody that I guess you could argue anyone should listen to, I guess. I just know that I have so much that I hold in every day. I have so much that I hold in my mind, my heart, my, whatever. And I'm sorry, I know I'm sweaty and gross right now. I'm right now. But I have so much that I hold in, and I don't really know what else to do with it. So I talk to you. And who are you? I don't know. I don't know who you are. Maybe nobody. Sometimes there's nobody in here. I could see somebody's in here. I don't know who they are. It doesn't tell me. It just tells me a number. So I don't know who it is I'm talking to, and I don't know why I'm doing it. I just know that I have to do this. And Cam Groves. Wow. What's up, bud? So these narratives, we have to realize that when we say things like the news is full of crap because they're just legacy media trying to make money, trying to get ratings, that's no different than social media podcasters. That's no different than people on the internet that are trying to sell you a bill of goods, like Andrew Tate or somebody, right? That's trying to somehow convince a bunch of incels that they need to be, women are property and yada, yada, yada. Take it back. Women are becoming equal to you. You don't want that. We got to beat them back down into their place. And I'm going to sell you a whole, training course on, how to do that. I have a word. I have a term that I call Andrew Tate. I call him a motivational speaker for bench warmers, because that's what he is. And it's like the idea that what you're hearing on social media is true because they're not the media or whatever. They are the media. They are the media. And they spread narratives, and they're in the business of spreading narratives, just like the news. Just like, now, when we talk about the news, right? Yeah, the news does have a job to report on news, crime, and whatever, politics, a certain level of news. But also understand that it's a medium of information that can be bought through publicists. PR departments can spread narratives by way of the news, by way of websites, by way of blogs, by way of social media people. For instance, let's say I wanted to convince everybody tomorrow that, something ridiculous, like maybe that I was the president of SpaceX, and that I was the one who did all the work at SpaceX, and Elon Musk took the credit for it. He didn't do anything. I did. It's completely outlandish, right? I've never been there. I don't know anything about, I'm not like an astrophysicist, right? But let's just say that I just decided that's gonna be my narrative. If I had $50 million, I could literally convince the entire world that that's true. If I had $50 million, I could pay Asmongold, Charlie Kirk, Ben Shapiro, Jordan Peterson, who else? Candace Owens, Tim Pool. I could literally pay all these people to go on the news and to go on their podcasts and say Tommy Kane was the real scientist genius behind SpaceX. And they would, for the bag. Doesn't matter if it ain't true. They would do it for the bag. Now, the only reason why they wouldn't do it is if they went to Elon Musk and said, yeah, this guy Tommy Kane gave us like $10 million to say he was responsible for all the ideas at SpaceX and that you ripped him off. And we're going to do it because we have $10 million. Elon Musk is going to go, oh, well, you know what? No, here's $50 million. You're not going to say like, and this is what's going on behind the scenes. And we no longer live in a world of truth. We just live in a world of narratives, clashing narratives that get pushed by big money. And that's what this is. And it's a joke. I don't know why it's so hard to convince. Well, I do. I know why, but I mean, when people are in a cult, and I know they say, oh, you can't say that they're in a cult. No, you can. You have to, because I mean, that's what it is when people are drunk on propaganda and misinformation. But the scary part is that propaganda and that misinformation is about to become so huge and be spread at such ginormous levels that it's not going to be propaganda anymore. It's going to be the new reality. It's going to be the new truth. It's going to be the new accepted reality. If Trump, let's just say hypothetically, Trump decides he's not going to leave the White House, which I would almost bet money is going to happen. The big, beautiful bill, which I don't think is going to pass. Let me just make that clear. Too many Republicans hate it. It's bloated. It's going to raise the debt ceiling. Elon Musk is against it. I don't think it's going to pass. But the scary thing is In this bill, there is a law that is inside of it that is going to basically make it so that the Supreme Court will no longer be able to punish the president for violating the Constitution. Why would that be in there? Why would that be in there? And then, of course, the fact that he took over the Department of Justice by putting a sycophant as the head. He put, he put Pete Hegseth as the head of the military. He put all of his people in charge of all of these places so that nothing could happen to him, because that is the legal arm of the Supreme Court. So if the Supreme Court wanted to kick Trump out of the White House, the first person they would call is the Department of Justice. And the first thing the Department of Justice would do is have a marshal go to the White House and escort the person off the property if they were not leaving the White House. This would be the protocol, but it ain't going to happen if the Department of Justice worships the ground that Trump walks on and is part of MAGA. So I think all of these things are in place on purpose, because I don't think that he plans on leaving. But let's just say hypothetical. Let's just say hypothetically he decides he's not leaving anywhere, right? And he decides he's going to stay. History is going to be rewritten by him. By him. He's already trying to rewrite it. This idea that Biden was this horrible, horrible, horrible person who was ruining the United States and everyone was in danger and they were letting illegals in droves and that our lives were in blah, 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 blah. All of this is fear-mongering nonsense. And if I'm watching my mouth, it's for a reason. YouTube and policies. But it's a bunch of nonsense. But it's going to end up becoming history, because history is always decided by the winner. Guys, if Germany would have won World War II, everybody here would be speaking German, and we would all be talking about how those evil Jews tried to stop the German movement. Like, that's what we would be saying. So if we sit there and we allow this guy to take over the White House and not leave, our grandkids will literally be taught in school that Trump is a hero who came and saved the country away from the evil liberals. And that's going to be what they're taught. That's going to be the history. Narratives. It starts to make me question what this all means. Look, I know, and I have a very clear understanding of the fact that we all die. I have no ego. I mean, what good is it? What's an ego worth? Steve Jobs is dead. I knew a guy named Leroy who used to smoke rolled up cigarettes behind the mobile gas station on Congress Street. He used to sweep up cigarette butts in the parking lot for my friend Nick, who owned the store, or I'm sorry, the Gulf, not the mobile. And he would, he was a homeless guy with crackhead teeth, and he died too. And him and Steve Jobs are in the same place. Same place. Rotting in the ground. Or evaporating in the air from the being burned to ashes. Does it matter that Steve Jobs invented the iPhone? No. Does it matter that Leroy was a crackhead? No. So what's the point, right? But then I start there and I say, okay, well, maybe it's about, because obviously it's clearly not about legacy. So it starts to beg the question, well, maybe it's about your family. Maybe it's about your kids, leaving something for them, being there for them. And then I see people that I know who have now betrayed their parents with narratives, who've gone on to be like, I happen to know for a fact they had very good parents, but now the narrative is they had horrible parents. For some reason, they decided it better suited them in life to project an image of victimhood by having horrible parents when they really didn't have horrible parents. So then I sit there and I'm like, well, if anyone with money can just come along and change the narrative, then what the hell does all this mean? What does any of this mean? You could be motherfucking Teresa, and you could come out and you could like do all this good, and you could give to the world and give to humanity and try to help people. Like, look at Bill Gates. Look at Bill Gates. This guy has literally offered to give away all his money. All of it. He said he wants none of it left when he dies. He wants to get rid of every dime of it. He doesn't want it. He doesn't care about it. He's gone all over the world. He's helped kids in starving in Africa. He's helped them with vaccines to keep them from dying. He's done all this stuff. And then along comes this new social media narrative that wants to paint him as, oh, no, he was friends with Epstein, so he messed with kids. And on top of that, he's evil. He creates vaccines to kill people. He's a part of the... And just like that, all the good this man has done for what? For someone to come along and change the narrative. And that's the difficulty about living in a capitalist society like the United States. Is that when you reach this level of crony capitalism, where you have people that have all the money at the top, they have the ability to just shape how everyone thinks. And it no longer matters what's true. The only thing that matters is what people believe. And they realize this. They know this. And patriotism is not tattooing an American flag on your arm. It's not wearing an American flag hat. It's not standing with an American flag draped around you while you shout at, like, you know, events or protests or wherever. Being a patriot is being willing to fight and die for American values. And American values and everything that we stand for is checks and balances, due process of the law in the United States Constitution. And when that's under threat, and you're somebody that chooses to either remain willfully ignorant or to justify your lack of action, you're not a patriot. I don't care how many fucking flag tattoos you have. I don't care, you know, that you drive Harleys and fucking have a flag on a stick that's off the back of your fucking stupid ass little motorcycle. That's not what patriotism is. It's not a soda brand. A patriotism isn't a brand. You fucking idiots. You fucking idiots. What did you do? What the fuck did you do, man? You go out and you fight. That's what you do. You raise hell to make sure that the elite knows who's boss. You stand the fuck up and you go and you fucking fight. That's what you do. And what do they have you idiots saying? They have you fucking idiots driving by hundreds, if not thousands of patriots that are out there screaming in the streets and going, look at those fucking idiots. What a bunch of losers. Go to work, you bums. And you think you're the patriot. You think you're the fucking patriot. You're a joke. You know, I had an argument today with somebody, and political argument. He wants to know why I'm cutting him off as a friend because of politics. What he doesn't understand is it's above and beyond politics. What he doesn't understand is that politics deeply affects culture. And culture and cultural norms deeply affect societal norms and things all the way across the board. Things that we respect, things that we appreciate, what we consider important in a culture. All of this is shaped by policy and politics. And so he says to me, I don't know why you don't like me just because I disagree with you politically. But what he doesn't understand is that he never made any disagreements with me politically. Because to make a disagreement politically, you need to make a political disagreement. Now, what I mean by that is that you need to actually drop down some knowledge and tell me some policy or some some legislature that you can back your claim as to why I'm wrong about something. That is a political debate. A political debate is saying, I disagree with what the Democrats did when they did XYZ because they put forth the policy that stated XYZ and blah, blah, blah. That's making a political debate. You telling me that liberals are the enemy of the country and that you think that because they're mean to you because you're white and you're tired of hearing check my privilege from liberals and libtards and that they're the enemy of the state, that's not a political argument. You're not disagreeing with me on politics. You're shouting your emotional insecurities and bullshit baggage in my face. You're not making a political argument whatsoever. In fact, when I ask you to make a political argument, you can't. Because you don't know anything. I had to explain to you checks and balances. You told me fascists were on the left because they were trying to silence free speech. That's not what fascism is. It's not green-haired college kids out shouting about how trans kids should play sports. That's not fascism. But yet you support a guy who told Congress to fuck off, who told the Supreme Court to fuck off, to circumvent checks and balances in a democracy, and basically said, I'm the law, and I'm going to do what I want to do. And you said that's not fascism. You said that the green-haired college kid that wants a trans kid to play sports is fascist. That's not a political argument. That's so lopsided and void of intellectual, it's void of competence, it's void of education, it's void of common sense and cognitive abilities. It's void of it all. I don't want to not be around you because we disagree about politics. I want to not be around you because you're a fucking idiot. You're an emotional jackass who looks at life through a stupid, myopic lens of this all I know is my life is like this because people blah, 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 and people treat me and blah, 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 blah. The world is bigger than you. We live on Earth. Big old massive ball that we fucking live on, man. A massive ball with, I think, 7.5 billion people. It's more than you, dude. It's bigger than you. It's bigger than your feelings. And yet, you're the one always making this argument that liberals act like, oh, their feelings, oh, that was what they're feeling. I've never seen anyone in my life care more about their fucking feelings than you MAGA idiots. I just never have. Your feelings about everything. You're hurt because some college kid said that you needed to check your privilege. Really? Really? You got little kids with cancer being pulled out of cancer hospitals and shipped out of the country because their parents didn't come here legally. How about that for a problem? Boo-hoo. Someone told you to check your privilege. Really? You know, when I was younger, I was like 13, I went up to my mother and I said, Mom, I'm scared to die. I was having like dreams of death and all this crazy shit. And my mother, she said, oh, don't worry about that. You'll get over that. And I was like, how? And she said, well, when you get older, you just get over that. And I was like, really? Like, you know, you're not afraid of death? What do you mean? How come getting older makes you get over it? And she said, because you start to no longer recognize the world you grew up in. And one by one, everybody lets you down. Until eventually, the idea of leaving doesn't sound so bad. I understand that now. I understand that. We celebrate bullies. We've made it cool to be apathetic, to not give a shit about human beings. Every single person that's born into this world is just reacting to their environment, to their surroundings. People come into the world and, you know, no, we don't know why. We don't know why we're fucking here. We don't know why. I don't know why this is me behind this fucking wretched face looking out these fucking dry blue eyes. I have no idea. I don't know how I'm this person. Neither does the Mexican know why he's the Mexican. Neither does the Asian know why he's the Asian. Neither does the gay know why he's gay. Neither does the trans know why they're trans. Like, we don't know why we are what we are. We just don't know. And we're put here and we get thrown all this shit in our face because we're on this fucking rock that's circling a star floating in space. And we just have all these people shouting at us from the moment we're born. You got to go to college. You got to do this. You got to get a job. You got to make money. You got to do this. Everyone's in our face trying to tell us what we got to do. And we're just reacting. We know that there's a few basic things that we have to do, right? We know that we need to eat. We know that we want love. We want somebody to love us, right? And we know that we need maybe sexual relief, right? You know, I mean, that's a normal biological factor. And we know these things about ourselves. And so we're just trying to get it. We're just trying to get what we know we need to get. And there's this reaction to it. And everybody wants to justify why they do what they do. Like, well, I could tell you why I broke the law, or I could tell you why I chose to go a way I shouldn't have. I'm a good person. I was just doing what I needed to do for me. But then when you see that guy over there, when you see fucking Pedro over there, who's an illegal immigrant, when you see Pedro over there, who is just trying to survive, getting a job washing dishes, and you see ICE storm into the fucking restaurant and grab this guy and slam him to the ground and ship him to an El Salvadorian fucking hellhole simply because he's trying to survive, and you're okay with that. You're fine with it. Hi, George Jacqueline. How you doing? Welcome, man. I love the UK. It's amazing. You're okay? You're okay with being inhumane? You're okay with not giving a shit about anybody but yourself? You've been somehow trained to believe by a bunch of fucking idiots on the internet that that's cool? You know, like, yeah. You just got to take care of yourself. You know, all this stuff, all this like, the liberals, they just want you to feel bad for people. The liberals, yeah, if they had it their way, they would just spend all this money to just keep everyone alive. They would just, no, fuck all that. You could survive on your own. Pull the plug. Fucking pull, like, this type of like fucking like attitude, this sort of Ayn Rand, worry about yourself and no one else philosophy is fucking terrible. It's toxic and it's awful. And now here's the thing that's really messed up is that it's easy to adopt that line of thinking. It's easy to adopt that line of thinking when things are going good for you. But everybody can fall. Lord knows I have. I have fell so many times. You know? I mean, I started businesses that collapsed, had to figure it out again. I've lost girlfriends, apartments. I've had to restart my life at least 10 times. I failed a lot, but I never ever stop. I never ever stop going. And that's kind of the key, right? But this idea that like you should just be this callous, cold-hearted individual, yeah, that's great when you're sitting on money and you're driving around in fucking Ferraris and you're like, yeah, fuck everybody. I made it and you didn't. Eat a dick. It's like, yeah, that's fine, I guess, until some drunk driver smashes into your fucking car one day because they ran through a red light and now your back is smashed and now you can't fucking walk and now you need help. Oh, you need help? Oh, well, I'm afraid that everybody listened to you and we cut all the programs that would have helped you. What happened to fucking figure it out? Because it presents this lie that we're in control. It presents this lie that you're in control. All these motivational speakers, they're fucking idiots. You're in control. You're in control. Now, I'm not telling you that you should just sit around and not do anything and hope success comes. No, it's very important to be motivated. It's very important to get up and do good things. But the idea that you believe that it's all 100% solely on you and that life and the chaos of life happening around you and random events can occur that could fuck your life is fucking insane. The idea that you think that people in positions of power with lots of money or in politics can't pass legislation or can't make laws and rules that can make it more difficult on you to succeed is fucking insane. Yeah, sure, you should be willing to get up and go to work to make a living, 100%, but so should too the dude who's hiring you be willing to pay you a wage you can fucking live on. How is that a radical concept? How is it that if I say that statement to any of my MAGA friends, I'm physically fucking attacked for that shit? I'm told that I mean, it's unbelievable. Like, what happened? I mean, when you have a country, when you have a big chunk of land that everybody's living in together and unifying around the name Americans, we're all Americans. That means we have a shared set of values. That means we all are affecting each other's lives. What one does affects the other. We have an economy because when one person has money and another person doesn't, and then a person spends money, but then that money gets made, and then taxes get paid, and then those taxes go into programs that help somebody who doesn't have money, and now that person has a little bit more money, so now they can go out and buy another product that a rich person just sold to them, so now the rich person gets more money. We are all affecting each other in a country. In a country. So this idea, you should only worry about yourself and fuck everybody else, is the exact opposite of a country. If everybody thought that way, then we no longer have a country. We have a bunch of fucking individuals that have nothing unifying them anymore other than the fact that they all are just out for themselves. You know what that looks like? It's not a happy place. Bars. Thank you, Cam. Speaking of bars, you got some, brother. You know that. I've told you several times that you know how to rap, my man. I've always thought you were a very talented dude. Very underrated and very often I think if I'm being completely straightforward, I feel like certain people you think are in your corner, I have inside information on, they haven't really been in your corner and often sabotage things. I don't know if it's because of jealousy or what it is, but other than that, you're always good with me, Cam. And I've got nothing but love for you, and I hope you get Bitcoin rich. I think you already are. I have a theory, Cam, that you're a multimillionaire in Bitcoin, but you're just not telling anybody. I genuinely believe that. I've actually told people that. I'm like, I think Cam's a millionaire. And everyone's like, he's not a millionaire. I'm like, I think he is. And he just isn't saying anything. Because you're that dude. You're that dude that could literally be a millionaire and you wouldn't fucking tell a single person. But anyways, I don't know why I'm here. I don't know why I'm doing this. I don't know why I'm talking. I don't even know. I'm sure a lot of you are like, shut up and put out a song. And I got news for you guys. I mean, I think I'm over putting out songs. The real reason why I got into doing music in the first place, my why, was because when I was a kid, I used to look up to like Tracy Chapman and Phil Collins and Michael Jackson when they made songs. Like Tracy Chapman made that song, You Got a Fast Car, and Phil Collins made that song Paradise, which was about being homeless on the streets. And Michael Jackson made that song, What About the Common Man? What about us? What about disease? What about us? Right? They made these songs that were meaningful and were trying to impact the world and change the world through music. That's why I started doing music. And honestly, like, that's what I was hoping to do, but it didn't work. I mean, I guess it worked in a small way. I've had some people write me letters and tell me like, oh my God, your music, you know, one guy told me that my music kept him from committing suicide when he was in Iraq. And that was probably like the best compliment I ever had, because that's really the reason why I did it. It wasn't because of fame or money. I just wanted to make music that made people think and feel and change the way they viewed things. And I just don't feel like that didn't, you know, music changed, and hip hop especially, it became so self-serving and selfish, and everybody just rapping about how much money they had. And then of course me feeling like I had to entertain that. And I had to start like feeding into that, because I'm like, well, people ain't going to listen to it if I'm not doing that. But you know what's crazy is I did do that and people still didn't listen to it. And that's one of the reasons why I love Jim Carrey's advice. Jim Carrey said something that is one of the best pieces of advice I've ever heard in my life. He said, you can fail doing what you don't want to do. You can fail doing what you want to do, but you can also fail doing what you don't want to do. So why not just try to do what you want to do? It's such good advice. But I don't know. I had some things I was going to play. I wanted to talk about. First thing I want to talk about is if I could find it on this tab somewhere. I don't remember where I put oh, here it is, right here. I want to put this on here really quick, because this, I'm going to minimize this. Some of you, let me just minimize this real fast. And I'm going to drag me up here because I don't want to be, there we go. All right. So for those of you who don't know, this is Asmongold. Asmongold is a video game podcaster who's played World of Warcraft and Elden Ring and many games that have made him very, very famous. And he has a slew of people who love Trump and are right-wingers on the right side. And this right here is about ICE. Look at these guys with fucking masks on. What a fucking joke. If you're really doing something that you can stand behind, why are you covering your face? Okay, so before we get started on this, and I want to make this clear, I'm aware that we have 500,000 people in the United States, maybe more, that don't belong here. I'm aware that there are people that came here, they're criminals, they haven't even tried to file for their citizenship, and I understand that they need to go. I'm not one of those people that's under any delusions that's not a reality. It is a reality. What I'm not a fan of is, first of all, I'm not a fan of it being done illegally, not giving people due process, Like the kid that I was arguing with today is like, they don't deserve due process. Well, guess what? I don't really care what you think. I care about the Constitution, and the Constitution states outright that nobody on American soil is to be denied due process. So regardless of your feelings, it's not about your feelings, right? I thought, isn't that what you're always bashing on the left, right? Like, so, but I disagree with that, number one. And number two, I don't agree with the callousness. The lack of, this is sad. It's not something to cheer for. Even if it's something that has to happen. Like a good example is Game of Thrones. There was a scene, I read the book, so I can't remember if this was in the book or if it was in the show. It was so vividly written that I sometimes often confuse the two. But there was a scene, I think it's in the book, where he, in the very beginning, when why am I forgetting his name? If anybody knows the name of the main character in season 1 there, Game of Thrones, shoot it up in the comments. I can't believe I'm forgetting his name. Anyways, Eddard Stark. That's it. Eddard Stark. So there's this scene where Eddard Stark walks over to this guy that just escaped the place at the wall, where he sworn an oath that he had to stay there for the rest of his life. And he ran from his oath. But he ran to warn them that the White Walkers were a thing and that they were like back or whatever. And this is in the very, very, beginning of the very first chapter or the first book. The first book. And Eddard Stark, after receiving the information, says, okay, well, thank you for sending me the information, but you realized you didn't uphold your oath and you left the wall, and therefore that's punishable by death. And the man knew, you're right. I did. I ran. So he violated his oath. So in front of his son, Eddard Stark had to pull out a sword and chop this guy's head off. In front of his son. And as they were walking across the field and talking, I think this is the part that was in the book. His son says to him, Dad, did you really have to kill that man? And he said, yes, I did. He violated his oath and I had to kill him. And his son said something to the effect of like, you didn't seem happy about it or something, right? And Eddard Stark said, that's the difference between a good king and a bad king, is he said, a good king does what he must, but doesn't celebrate the joy of it. Like, I don't enjoy chopping people's heads off. It just had to be done. And that type of lesson is what I would argue is what I'm arguing in this situation. Is that, do we need to do this? Yes. Do we need to cheer it on and celebrate it? Like it's a terrific thing? No. Do we need to skirt due process when we do it and not give people their rights given to them, by being on U.S. soil to begin with? No. But I want you to listen to what this idiot says, because this guy is Asmongold might be one of the best video game commentators I have ever seen on the internet. When it comes to video games, I watch every time. I'll always be a fan. I'm not saying this because I'm not a fan of Asmongold. I think that when he does games, he's one of the greatest, game commentators. I would argue the greatest. I think he's literally that good. He's funny to watch and he's super good. But when he starts diving into politics, oh God. But I want you to watch these comments and listen to what he says.
These could not provide identification and were taken away.
It should have been 4 employees. It should have been him being taken away for questioning for how he managed to hire 3 illegal aliens.
So right here, he's saying that the owner of the restaurant should have been taken away with the illegal aliens because he hired illegal aliens to begin with. So somebody comes into your restaurant that just needs a job to support their families. They live right down the street. They just haven't done the paperwork to become a citizen yet. You want them to be able to feed their families. Asman says you should be arrested for that.
How is it that you just accidentally hired 3 illegal aliens?
Maybe it wasn't an accident. Maybe they have empathy.
And arrest the people who hire them. Yeah, like I don't like this is the way I see it. I actually don't blame the illegals that much. I think the main fault lies with the business owners, because the illegals are just following the incentive. If I lived in Venezuela or one of these other countries that's like problematic, I would want to come to America too. I would want more than anything to come to.
Do you hear the hypocrisy and the asinineness of this statement? I don't blame them for wanting to come here and have opportunity. I blame the people for giving them that opportunity. Mind blown, bro. Mind blown. I'm not mad at them for coming here, wanting to leave Venezuela and seeking opportunity. I'm mad at the person for giving them opportunities. How dare they? Don't fault them for wanting opportunities. Put the people in prison who gave them opportunities.
To America. And so, like, and why is it?
And if you look at these comments, look at, yup, the business owners are making it possible for the illegals. Biden and Cali. Yeah, businesses that do this should get the book thrown at them. Like, this is fucking nuts. You know how many people are in his chat? You know how many brainwashed retards are listening to this shit? I'm sorry for using that word. I know some people get offended by it, but I mean, I don't mean it the way you think. It is what it is. I grew up in the 90s. Anyways.
Well, it's because you can get a job here. They are the ones that are enabling it.
They're enabling it by giving them the opportunities, Zach.
They create the carrot. So if you don't go after the people making the carrots, then you're never going to solve this problem. Everyone's following that incentive, though? Yeah. Do it the legal way, though? Well, yeah, of course, right? But like, you can, am I crazy for saying that? Like, I can totally empathize and see why.
Oh, can you?
Illegal aliens come here.
Is that the reason why the entire time in this video, when you see these guys busting people down and attacking innocent civilians and going crazy to grab these people, that you're sitting there and you're condoning all of it because you can empathize?
Of course it makes sense. Absolutely. But it's really on the government and it's on these businesses to hold these people accountable.
Now, here's the thing. I'm not going to disagree with that statement. If you hire somebody because you want to help them and you know they haven't had their citizenship and so on and so forth, you should be telling them you need to get your paperwork together. That should be a thing. But a lot of times owners probably in many cases don't do it because they want to skirt paying the actual wages that they would end up having to pay. And that's a horrible thing. But again, that's the problem once again. That right there is the problem once again. Now, this is just a restaurant owner who's just, how much money is he making? He's a restaurant owner, right? But what do you think is the deal when billionaires or billion-dollar companies like Uber, for instance, that have millions of illegal immigrants driving cars, knowing that they're illegal, knowing that they're finding ways to drive Uber all day, knowing that they'll work for peanuts and wages, which they do, because in California, I know Uber has made it now so that you pretty much only average about minimum wage driving Uber, and they know that they can get illegals to do that all day long. And who's benefiting from that? The rich. The rich. So once again, Asman is putting his finger on the problem here, but not really quite the way that it should be stated, but more in a way that it's stated in a way to appease his crazy MAGA following.
So contrary to what they want you to think.
Anyway, we can get off this. I wanted to touch on that for a minute. Another thing I wanted to watch is this. And wait a minute, hold on. No, none of this is what I was trying to watch. Where is it? Oh, this one. There it is, right here. Here we go. Let's get into the weeds.
That's my opinion.
Elon Musk has left the White House, but not without an extraordinary parting shot at the man he was instrumental in putting there. I'm sorry, but I just can't stand it anymore, he said on his platform X. This massive, outrageous, pork-filled congressional spending bill is a disgusting abomination. It's a sharp change in tone from their Oval Office farewell on Friday, in which both men defended their unlikely bromance.
Elon has worked tirelessly helping lead the most sweeping and consequential government reform program in generations, and you know the kinds of things that he's...
I'm not even going to mention the fact that Elon's high, and I'm not going to mention the fact that he has a black eye, because I'm sure you guys have all heard this already.
He's found and his people have found. He's brought a group of very smart people. Thank you, Elon.
Thank you.
Take care of yourself.
Thank you. You've seen a lot. This is not the end of Doge, but really the beginning. My time as a special government employee necessarily had to end. It was a limited time thing. It's 134 days, I believe, which ends in a few days.
So how did Doge do? And is Elon okay? And what about the 6 major businesses he'll now return to running full time? Well, joining me are 2 economic heavyweights, Professor Scott Galloway, host of the
I love this guy.
Pivot, and Kevin O'Leary, the investor and Shark Tank star. Well, welcome to both of you. I can't think of 2 better people, frankly, to debate this. First of all, Kevin, I don't know where you were when that post from Elon dropped yesterday, but it was a bit of a jaw dropper. Here you've got the guy that was instrumental in helping Donald Trump get elected, incredibly publicly supportive of him, and then he goes on his own social media platform and tells 200 million people at the press of a button that Trump...
By the way, for those of you who don't know who Scott Galloway is, I suggest you look him up. He's literally one of the most brilliant people on the planet. And also, I've never in my life heard him say something that I disagreed with. Ever. Not once. He made a statement about Social Security needing to be cut. And you know, you might say, well, you didn't disagree with that. Yeah, somebody just posted me a comment offering me subscribers for money. I don't, you know, my friend, I don't really care. I don't care about that. If it doesn't happen organically, then it's not going to happen. Anyway, Scott Galloway, he did say something about that, but when you listen to why he said it, and he breaks down the issues with Social Security, he's not wrong. It's an ugly truth. There's some things that need to be addressed with that whole situation. But other than that, I've never heard the man say anything I disagreed with. Anyway.
Trump's big, beautiful bill on which he staked so much of his presidency is a disgusting abomination. What are your thoughts?
Well, I'm working very closely on this bill as an advocate for small business in America. A lot of people don't realize that 70% of job creations in the U.S. is from small business, 5 to 500 employees. So we care a lot about this bill. There's a lot of things that we need in here, particularly on the tax side of things. But there's a lot in this bill that we don't like. And so I'm an advocate for their voices, and I'm going to senators and talking to them about what's the problem here.